In this video, I want to expand on a topic that I started talking about on my live stream on Friday about why I think people are so dissatisfied with Apex Legends and kind of just the whole scene of it, and definitely very much so the more competitive aspects of Apex, and why pros are so angry about the game. And very little of this actually has to do with the game itself, but I'm gonna break this down into three main categories and just go through and fully expand on each of the three topics. Now, the three that we're gonna be going through is the public perception of the game, which I'm gonna talk about in a much more specific sense, so just wait for me to get there. Previous experiences with the game from player to player, and then the last thing that I'm going to talk about is the actual game itself and the changes that are coming, and with that, how we can fix this boredom and frustration and everything that's coming along with the game now. So the first thing that I want to talk about is actually prior experience. Now, this isn't the order that I listed it, I know, but if I start with the one that I listed before, it's going to be a boring video and you're going to click off right away. So since that's kind of the nitty gritty of this. So I wanted to talk about previous experiences with the game, and with that entailing kind of relearning aspects. So at least for me, part of the frustration that is really happening when I play the game is that it feels like I should be better than I am. And I think that's what it is for a lot of above average players, is that when they load up into a game of Apex, they feel like they should be doing better than they are, and for whatever particular reason, whether they're not hitting their shots, or whether they're just not adapted to the changes from the new season yet, or in some cases, and I think this is an excuse for a lot of players, but sometimes SBMM really does screw you over, and it just makes the game a lot less enjoyable. But the only reason it's making it less enjoyable is because you're going in with high expectations for yourself. You're expecting to get very far, you're expecting to frag, you're expecting to get wins, and so when you don't do that, you start to look for things to blame. And as your brain is racing around looking like, oh man, wow, that guy has a Predator badge on him, or that guy has twice as many kills as I do, or man, I'm so mad that he had the devotion, because if I had the devotion I'd win. And you start to get really frustrated because then it's the game's fault and it's not your fault. And in a lot of cases, which we're going to talk about later, you really can slightly pin it on other things, but I want to go into the public perception, because the people with the biggest audience obviously are these pro players, these content creators like myself. I'm a very small one in the grand scheme of the community, but I myself have had my episodes of ranting about the game on Twitter when I have a very frustrating night trying to get footage, so I understand that. But a lot of times pro players like Lulu Lovely, Reptar, TSM, Vis, Nicewig, all these people are going on Twitter and they're just blasting the game because they're frustrated with it. And what this does is then it plants that seed in their audience's mind, these hundreds of thousands of people who are exposed to this, and they're like, man, I've had a similar experience where I can't hear the audio, so I'm gonna hate on the game for the audio. Or, man, I'm getting predators in my lobby too, it's not just me, even these pro players can't do it, so how am I supposed to do it? And there's just this, mass toxicity and breeding of, anger and frustration. And then on top of that, the actual changes to the game. But on a much smaller level, this has affected me. When I say public appearance or public persona of Apex, I mean even your friend group. I've had a lot of friends who don't play the game anymore because either they find it boring because there's not a lot of content being added, or it's just frustrating because they're constantly changing weapons in ways that aren't balanced and that kind of thing. And that affects how I view the game, because Apex to me is unplayable as a solo. They've had a horrible matchmaking for solos for as long as I can remember. Even when the game first dropped, I wouldn't really play if I wasn't playing with my friends, and as it went on, it just got way, way, way worse, other than Season 3, which I do want to touch on towards the end of this video when we talk about how they can fix the game, because this whole, past experiences and public perception, these don't affect new players. I've had a lot of players come into my videos and leave comments saying They just started playing the game and they're really enjoying it. And that's partially what led me to this conclusion that it's, a combination of these three things, because they don't know what all these big shots are saying about the game. That's not influencing them. They don't have anything to compare it to from the past, so they don't have these false expectations that when they load up into a match they should be doing well, and they don't really have the knowledge of the previous versions of the map, so they're not mad that they're on King's Canyon and not on World's Edge, or vice versa. But then we get down to the last part, and this is like where we kind of have to figure out for ourselves if we're happy with the changes that the devs are making. Now, obviously, I don't think it's a stretch to say that Season 5 was the worst season, period, for Apex. There was barely any content, barely any changes. If you're a Bloodhound main, you're probably kind of happy. If you're a Revenant main, kind of happy. But it was an abysmal season, and that's, I'm not exaggerating or anything like that. It was definitely the driest season, and it feels like in some ways that's kind of carried into Season 6. Now, I know all of you keyboard warriors are furious in the comments right now because the devs are working from home, but it's not, as a consumer, my job to pity the devs for having to work from home, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm a consumer who is playing their game and paying them for their game. So I don't owe them my loyalty because, they're working from home. And that sounds kind of crappy. It makes me sound like kind of a bad person. But if they're not giving me content to play, it doesn't make you a bad person if you seek out different content because the game that you regularly play isn't changing anything. Or in this case, if they're changing things in ways that no one really asked for or wanted. So particularly in Season 6, I've been seeing a lot of people complain about the triple take. I've been seeing them complain about the armor changes. And I've also been seeing them complain a whole lot about the devotion, which I don't really have a problem with them complaining about the devotion. It was a horrible idea to ever take it out of the crate. I have no idea what the devs were thinking, except that I do know what they were thinking, which is that when they have an overpowered weapon, instead of trying to balance it like other devs would, they just put it in the crate. They're like, all right, see ya, buddy, peace out. They did that with the devotion. They were like, oh god, how are we gonna solve this problem with the devotion? It's so powerful. Put it in the crate. Oh, what are we gonna do with this Peacekeeper, man? People complain it's too powerful. Crate. And then they were like, oh man, people seem to really like this R99. It's powerful. Crate. Just get it out of the ground loot. I don't know what to do with it. So that's where that ended up. And now they're running into a problem where they're like, wow, we want to cycle these weapons, but we did nothing with it. So we're just, suffering from that. And I think that comes in combination with the other two things. And it's just this perfect storm of bad press and a bad experience from solo players. There are a lot of people who feel like their voices aren't being heard when they're asking for changes, and this is the casual side of things. It's not just the pros who are whining about stuff. There are a lot of very valid concerns that I feel like the devs don't really take into consideration when they're making changes, and in some cases they do know what's best, but in a lot of cases it's a game made for consumers. So if you're not giving the consumers what they're asking for, they're going to go somewhere else, and that's just the nature of how the market works. So how can they fix this? Well, going back to Season 3, which is by far the best season in Apex's history, you can look at the things that we had. There were, a couple balancing changes here and there, but people don't really care about that all that much. What they want is to enjoy the game. So what did they do in Season 3? They gave us the Grand Soiree, which was incredible. I believe we also had, right around that same time, the Christmas event, which was, again, incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, we also had the Halloween event. So, how are you going to give us the best season like that and then follow it up with nothing? The limited time modes that we've gotten recently have been cheeks at best. They're just here's the old limited time mode, Evo Shields. For the last 5 limited time modes, they're like, what do you mean you guys aren't enjoying our limited time modes? What the heck? So it's just, as a content creator, I don't really know what to make videos on anymore. I tried so hard during like season 4 and season 5 to come up with creative content, but I'm just kind of burned out on it at this point. Like, there's only so far up my butt I can stick my arm to try to pull out topics to talk about, because I don't really like stretching out content that doesn't need to be stretched out to make videos on it. If there are like funny videos here and there, I'll make a video, you know, just talking about it, having a good time. But as a content creator, my goal is not to waste your time. Like, I don't want to make a video about absolutely nothing. So that's just kind of my position that I feel like I've been put in, because I want to make videos, but I don't really know what to make videos on that I'm interested in and that you would be interested in. So if you guys have topics like that, please leave them down below. Whatever you guys want to see, I'll try my best to make happen. But that's just kind of how I see the state of Apex right now. I know this was a little bit more of like a downer kind of video, but I really want to know what you guys genuinely think about the state of Apex, because I've been seeing a lot of people who are, you know, equally upset as these pros are. I'd say it's probably like a 60-40 split of angry people at this point, and so I want to hear from you guys. And as always, I'll be down in the comments reading what you guys have to say, liking, commenting, hearting, everything. So make sure you're active down there. That's going to be it for me for this video though, guys. So thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I really do appreciate that. If you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button on your way out. And if you're not already, you can help me get to 30,000 subscribers by hitting that red button. That's going to be all though, guys. So until next time, take it easy.